This man was living in an airport for 18 years, here's why. Mehran Nasseri. Fate. Mehran Nasseri had formed the basis of the film Terminal, which was shot by Spielberg. Nasseri lived at the Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport for almost 18 years, right from August 26, 1988 to July 2006. The real story of Mehran is quite different from the Hollywood film adaptation. In 1977, he had been expelled from Iran for taking part in several protests against the government. After that, Nasseri had sought political asylum in European countries and also received shelter in Belgium. But since Mehran's mother was British, he decided to move to Glasgow. On the way, he lost a diplomat with all his important documents and was already at London's Heathrow Airport. When Mehran had attempted to go through passport control, he was quickly sent back to Charles de Gaulle Airport. Both France and Belgium even offered Nasseri a residence permit, but Mehran instantly refused to sign the documents since they had indicated that he was an Iranian and he wanted to be recognized as British. Nasseri's stay at the airport finally ended in July 2006 when he was hospitalized. After being discharged from the hospital, he had been offered a place in a Paris refugee shelter, where he stayed. Denis Luis de Souza. Interestingly, this Brazilian man had decided to take refuge at the São Paulo Guarulhos International Airport of Brazil back in the year 2000 due to frequent conflicts at home. He had no intention of flying out of Brazil and was quite pleased with his current place of residence. De Souza, who is said to suffer from psychological issues, is reportedly living in Terminal 2 of the airport till date. Souza has even befriended the airport workers, who provide him with food, clothes, and other necessities. At the age of 35, Souza still lives at the airport and doesn't want to know what's going on outside. Tetsuya Abo. Tetsuya Abo had claimed that he was a journalist who suffered from criticizing the freedom of speech in Japan. Therefore, Abo had refused to fly from Russia back to his homeland. He arrived in Moscow on May 1, 2015 and had to fly on 29 May, but rather than boarding the plane, he decided to settle in the corner right between the gates. Abo lived at the Sheremetyevo airport for almost 185 days before he was finally sent back home. He had actually hoped to obtain Russian citizenship. However, according to lawyers, the granting of a political asylum to him was nearly impossible since there was no actual evidence that he was directly persecuted in his home country. Sanjay Shah. Kenja Sanjay Shah had been denied entry to the UK back in 2004 when he arrived with a British passport that did not give him the right to immigrate to the United Kingdom. Before travelling to Europe, he had refused his Kenyan passport, so Shah remained stateless, which would have allowed him to return to his homeland. Sanjay then had to live at Nairobi International Airport for at least 437 days, moving between the departure lounges as well as the immigration desks. He even washed the toilets of the airport and ate the food that had been given to him by people working in airport restaurants. Thanks to the close attention given by the media and public support, Shah managed to obtain British citizenship, where he now resides with his family. Hassan al-Khantar. Hassan al-Khantar was working in Dubai when a major battle broke out back in 2011 in Syria. Knowing that he would have no choice but to fight if he returned home, Khantar decided to stay in the UAE after his work visa had expired. But eventually, in March 2018, he had been deported to Malaysia. Having been refused entry into Cambodia, Turkey, Malaysia, as well as Ecuador, Khantar found himself in the transit zone of Kuala Lumpur Airport. For almost 208 days, Khantar slept under the stairs, showered in the toilet for the disabled and even ate the food that was donated by other passengers. Edward Snowden. The former CIA officer, about whom multiple films and TV shows were shot, became famous in the whole world during the summer of 2013 when he had given the media secret information regarding complete surveillance of American intelligence services. Soon Snowden was in absentia and charged with espionage and was put on the international wanted list. He managed to escape from the United States, first to Hong Kong and then to Moscow, where he stayed for 39 days in the transit zone of Sheremetyevo Airport. He had planned to fly to Ecuador, where he wanted to seek political asylum. But the Americans immediately revoked his passport, and he did not have any valid documents to take off from Russia.